Now, I'm here in Glasgow with Moira Brown, who's a very, very special member of Alba. And as Moira points out, I've learned to say Alba properly in recent weeks. But you're a 6,000 member, Moira.
Well, I'm delighted to be a member of Alba.
Now, can I ask you a question? If it's impertinent, just tell me to go and blow. What sort of age are you, Moira?
I'm 89 years of age this year.
89.
I'm not quite 89, I'm a Christmas Eve baby, but I'm in my 89th year, so I'm 89.
Now, you're not, Alba's not the first political party you've been in, Moira, so you had a fairly reasonable membership of the SNP, so when did you join the SNP?
I think it was 1955, so perhaps I'm 64 years a member. And it was merely talking to somebody in West Kilbride, Baker, and he and I seemed to have similar ideas on life, the way the country was run, the deal that Scotland was getting.
No, was that, you said West Kilbride, so that was before East Kilbride was even thought of?
Yes, indeed. Indeed, it was before most people were even thought of, including yourself.
Well, I was one at the time, Moira,
Right.
when you joined the SNP, I was 1 year old. So
Oh, well, you're wearing your age well.
I know. I'm dyeing my hair with boot polish, doing that sort of thing. Listen, so I'm interested, back in the 1950s, I mean, what was it like campaigning for the SNP? Because it'd be quite unusual. People wouldn't be expecting you around the doors and things, or leaflets and that, would they?
No, we really, particularly in a place like West Kilbride, which you could imagine, they were either Labour Unionists, but chiefly Tory Unionists, and indeed some of the things, I've had a bucket of water thrown over me.
You sure it was water?
It was water. I had licked my lips to see if it was anything else. But I didn't mind, because the door opened, the next door neighbour opened the door, invited me in, and I managed to sign them up.
So it was a big thing, being even a member at that time, and signing up another member might have been extraordinary, like winning the lottery.
And standing on the entrance, or at the entrance of West Kilbride School, which primary school was our polling station, being harangued. I always remember being told by chap that had an engineering works in Greenock, indeed, for goodness sake, Moira, what's wrong with your head? And my reply was, supposing I'm the only one to do it, I will do it.
So you, as far as you were concerned, it was as long as one of you were alive.
Exactly so, exactly.
So you'll remember going forward a wee bit, you'd been a member of the party, the SNP, for more than 10 years by the time Winnie Ewing won Hamilton in 1967.
I did it indeed. That was 67.
67,
yeah. For some unknown reason, I think I was away for that one. I've campaigned in quite a few places, Perth, Dundee, Drumchapel indeed, and various other places whenever I could get away. But my husband was at sea, and I quite often had to join him, or there would have been a divorce then.
So tell me, your late husband, was he also political, or did he just put up with you?
No, indeed. I had joined the party in West Kilbride. He came home after 10 months, a long trip, and I said, by the way, I've joined the SNP. He said, thank goodness for that. he said, because I've always believed in independence. Go for it. I'll supply money when you wait for, for a babysitter. You go out and help all that you can. And he was so passionate till the day he died, and of independence, nothing less. I love that badge. I've still got that wee badge. I know I had to be persuaded indeed when time came round for the first vote on devolution.
So was it me that persuaded you, or was it somebody else?
Well, no, I was against it for the simple reason I believed, I had the feeling it was granted, came through Westminster, and a long time before that I had mistrusted anything that came from Westminster.
Well, that was very wise, Moira, and that was the 1979 vote, of course.
Yes, indeed. But I managed to, my delight was going to Coatbridge and seeing my father and saying, I suppose you, that all good Tories voted against. No. He said, surprise, surprise. He said, I voted yes. And I said, why? He said, for the future of the young people and for the future of Scotland. And you know how I'm going to be voting from now on in. He didn't have a long time after that, but I thought, success.
Excellent, good for you. Now, the 79 referendum, of course, was won, but Westminster, you rightly reckon on a bit of chicanery, and chicanery there was, so the Parliament was never delivered then.
No.
And then, of course, there was a fair amount of consternation in the SNP, and you remember the young whippersnapper, whose name I forget, at the Dam Park Pavilion in 1982. But you weren't entirely convinced by that Salmond and Sillars and the 79 group, were you?
Well, I'm wary about groups within a party. I sort of believe that there's nothing wrong with people getting together and expressing their views, but bringing them forward and persuading other people. And I thought, it's not that I disbelieved in a lot of things that I heard, but I still believed at that time, and I still feel the same way to a certain extent, that everything should be brought forward. And one of the things I liked about the SNP, it was a party that came from the bottom up. Oh, that I could say so, now continue saying so. I've had my doubts over the past few years, and of course they culminated in me talking to other people, listening to other people, and soul searching about leaving. It's a long time to belong to a party.
That was 65 years.
Yes.
That's 20 more than I managed. So that's a long time. But now, I've signed you up today as the 6,000th member of Alba.
Yes.
Now, I'm backing everything on you, Moira, because when you joined the SNP, it would only have a few hundred members back in the 50s if they were lucky. Now Alba's got 6,000. Now with your track record and rate of growth, starting from that base of 6,000, where sky's the limit?
Well, I remember going to my first conference in a church hall in Inverness, and I was the only one to come from West Kilbride, and we discussed things that were come forward. But I went in to the tea room I met Frank MacArthur.
Oh yeah, Frank, yeah.
Frank and his wife, and they called me across and we started talking. And I often wonder, actually I mentioned to my daughter, I wonder what the likes of Frank and Elsie would be thinking about that there is a party that doesn't seem to put at the right, first and foremost, independence. And I know we've got a time where there's COVID, but quite honestly, I'm fed up with researchers and producing tomes of books and all the rest of it, or hey, we'll pass something in Parliament and nothing happening. And there seems to be a neglect of any ideas but the one ideas. To say that I think there's now a clique would be perhaps being kind. I may have other words, I can't quite find them.
I think you've got a pretty strong tongue when you've got a mind to Moira. The great thing, of course, about the SNP in these days, back in the 80s and 90s, whatever disagreements there were, you looked round the hall and every single person, regardless of whether you agreed with them or disagreed with them on this motion or that motion, you knew they were absolutely committed to independence. Unfortunately, you couldn't say that now about the SNP leadership.
No, and I have been very disappointed that lately, the past year or two, they have sort of, shall we say, dispensed with what I would call some excellent people. They've been sidelined, and it seems all that is, or what is wanted, you're not in there unless you agree wholeheartedly with, in other words, people are afraid or they can't bring forward ideas. There seems to be, you've got to think this way or do it our way or nothing happens, and nothing is happening.
So now you're the 6,000th member of Alba. With your substantial political experience, as substantial as just about earned in the country, I would think, what advice would you have to the other 5,999 members of Alba? What advice would you give them from that standpoint?
Well, do what you can in whatever way, and I hope that Alba will make use of people and use their strong points. Never ever make independence second in the list. It must always be first on the list for the good of themselves, their families, the wider community and our nation.
So finally, Moira, will you be taking a wee look into the Alba first inaugural conference in Greenock?
Yes, Alec, and anything I can help with. Nowadays I'm not as fit, but I can leaflet a bit. I can certainly fold letters. I can make teas. I can do anything that I can do. I'm willing. In actual fact, Alba has the concept and where they're going and where they're heading. I've got good feelings about, and I have been fired up again at 89. I haven't felt this way for a long time, and that saddened me. You know, that I had lost my belief about us moving forward as a country. And if we don't do it sooner or later, the way things are shaping up and powers, every power that can be, will be taken away.
So Alba's given you a new lease of political life.
Indeed it has.
In that case, I'll see you at the conference.
You will indeed. Smiling, I hope.
Moira, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, Alex, to talk to you. It's a real surprise, and boy, you've made not only my day, but this will keep me going for a long time. Other stories to tell.
Me and you both.